I'll probably crop out the gal at the bottom. I think it's a birthday gal. It's on an account of somebody who used to give a shit about me before I challenged people long term and in depth. Either way. Up at the top, you got Abe Lincoln, who was a piece of shit. These are all stewards, technically, of the District of Columbia, whether they preceded that or not. Our masters got together and they formulated a plan, and most people don't understand that this dates back to the 16th century, which is why it's not outside the realm of possibility based on what I'm complaining about without giving you all the details. But to throw you a bone, you can look up images of, the Lincoln Memorial, and good old Abe Lincoln. He's, this is lesser magic. He's striking a pose. He's, Vogue, as Madonna might have put it. You got one hand, right? Which is doing what? Can you tell me what the right hand's doing? In contrast with the left hand. If I left this online as a question, could you fucking answer it? Can you tell me what the difference is? I'm looking for a meaningful answer. I'm looking for something that would reflect reality. Something that, people could use as a tool, because the people who built this fucking effigy to Abe Lincoln understand these things, and you're not supposed to. More importantly, you should parallel this, I'm pretty sure this was cut out of stone, with what you'll find in the House of Congress, because the people who are pulling our strings are fascists. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about this. They're fascists. And a lot of people will throw that shit around these days, but they don't understand it. Communism, democracy, all the isms, and democracy, mind you, it's all shades of fascism. Socialism, same difference. None of this is for the people, by the people. None of this is the republic. None of this is grassroots fucking wholesome. Because it's not supposed to be. It's by design, not coincidence. So if you look at the symbolism located below both of these hands, this is also what you're going to see. If you look up images of the House of Congress, you'll have the speaker, and he stands behind a podium. And behind the speaker, on the back wall, you're going to see the symbol of the fasci, which is the symbol of fascism, which is none other than what was carved in fucking stone. Again, if I'm correct, I'm pretty sure this is made of stone. And good old Abe Lincoln is supporting this shit. Wasn't he the 16th president? Not that that matters, but just the same. It's pretty early on in the, what's the word that I'm looking for? The hierarchy, the chain of fucking stewards of the corporation is what I'm driving at. And they're celebrating this. Now, what you should find terribly interesting is he was most likely, sacrificed or something else along those lines. By and large, he supported a bunch of horrible shit, despite what history will usually superficially urge you to repeat. He was a bag of shit. They all have been. These are people that you and I work for. We put bread on their table. And there are kids out there who praise this shit. They argue in favor of the Hegelian dialectic. Voting matters. I really like so-and-so. No, I really like so-and-so. I think I've mentioned it before. When I was very, very young, I was on a playground in Santa Fe, New Mexico. And this is when Bush and Dukakis were, allegedly competing. All presidents who are stewards of the corporation, and based on the year that I'm referring to, back in the 80s, I think it was the 80s or early 90s. I think 80s, most likely. What was I going to say? Shit, I had it and I lost it. Hold on. And my thumb's going numb because I'm holding this down to keep this up. What was I going to tell you guys? Back in the 80s, it had to do with Bush and Dukakis, and all it was, the story goes like this, either way. There were kids on the playground who were arguing about Bush, and they were arguing about Dukakis, because that's what they heard their idiot parents reinforcing. In other words, the parents were reinforcing a phony narrative in place to subjugate the masses, which promotes the Hegelian dialectic. It doesn't urge people to use their goddamn brain and understand that they're being divided. It's also, when you see people flash the symbol of peace, that's victory. That's the cross of Nero. That's the end of man. That's not peace. That reaffirms the same thing that I'm complaining about. So I remember on the playground, the kids who were doing the same thing because indoctrination works. The kids were popping, sexual jokes about, a bush having to do with a vagina. And the other ones were saying, do cock ass having to do with an anus. Which, it's just, dude, it's stuck with me because it's just as juvenile and counterproductive as what their parents were shopping around. It's the point that I'm struggling to spit out. You and I have been manipulated. You and I have been had. And if you're using the DARPA internet, make no mistake, this happens to you and I on a daily basis. Things are normalized. And things get worse and worse because of it. If you track, the existence of when the DARPA internet was spoon-fed to the masses, roughly the early 90s, approximately, late 80s, early 90s. If you consider just how fucking far gone society has become ever since the introduction of the DARPA internet, this is by design, not coincidence, because our masters openly stated in a Davos panel that they were going to give us numerous forms of communication to mislead and manipulate the masses. Not in so many words, but they did say something along the lines of, this is a very long time ago that I read this, in print. Take that with a grain of salt, and you could look it up if you're diligent, but that means you have to go through every single fucking year that the Davos panel provided the public with a public transcript, and most of you aren't worth your salt. You're lazy and or you don't know how to do it, especially since if you tried to Google that, Google's going to tell you everything but what you're looking for, which means you would have to dig for it. You would actually have to research. You would have to buckle down and put in time and energy to figure something out, instead of digesting the latest entertainment and repeating the latest propaganda. So this Davos panel, they stated that the only reason you and I were going to be given access to telephones, internet, cell phones, things along those lines, and social media, which is why it's free, red flags, motherfucker, is so that we could echo their narratives. And this goes back to, this is a quote that I couldn't remember, and I can't on the spot either. And I was trying to remember who said it because it stuck out. It was one of the former CIA directors, alphabet agencies. And just think about that for a second, too. You have a bunch of alphabet agencies, and then you have an alphabet community. Isn't that strange? It's almost as strange as Terrence Howard, controlled opposition asset and talentless hack, waxing poetic about 1 times 1 doesn't equal 1. And the alphabet community echoing the same narrative at the same time. It's quite a coincidence. Or it's a social engineering, manipulative, agenda. Yeah. So, I forgot what I was getting at. Either way, you and I have been fucking manipulated, and people don't understand any of this. Any of it. You and I are spoon-fed narratives. Things are hidden in plain sight. And I interacted with some bargain bin retards today because one of them said something to the effect of, "This is the great noticing." If it was the great noticing, which is absolutely ridiculous, it's poorly worded and sounds fucking hilarious. It's something that a retard would say. In my humble opinion, can you tell me, going all the way back to what I was saying earlier, this is a question. I'm not going to spoon feed it to you. What does Abe Lincoln's right hand in this memorial represent in contrast to what his left hand represents? If you're not a retard, answer the question in the comment section. And as always, what the fuck do I know? Thanks for hanging out.